This is UI meeting for August 31st, 2016. All right, so I'm going to use the Trello board. So we can either start with the discussions, the show and tell, or is there anything that's not on the board that somebody really wanted to get out in the open before we kind of dive in?
No show and tell for me. I've had zero time to actually do anything about the debugging tool we found.
Sorry, say that again?
No show and tell from me.
Okay.
I had no time, so.
No worries. No worries. Okay, well, let's, I guess we can just start at the top here, unless this is one that we kind of have to punt. Start the long-term planning of Angular 2.0 upgrade. Do you guys feel like this is a good time to get into that, or?
I think, I mean, JT, I think, has some strong thoughts on this, but certainly that link that is provided there in the description kind of gives some decent guidelines for what to start thinking about. And we may want to consider some of these things as best practices moving forward to make sure that if and when we take the plunge, we don't die a horrible death at the bottom of the canyon. So I mean, there are some good things in there. If people haven't read it through, I think it's a good thing to read through, and perhaps if there are things that really kind of stand out to individual people, we should kind of talk about them one at a time. Like just add them to the board and talk about them that way, rather than trying to go through this whole thing kind of all at once.
Okay.
I think with any kind of upgrade plan, the idea of doing it all at once anyway is kind of frightening. So as much as we can kind of break this down and see, like, oh, I hadn't considered this. Oh, we haven't talked about this. Anything like that are things that we probably want to call out and start talking about. And here's JT now. I don't know. We were just talking about the long-term Angular 2 upgrade path, and I was just suggesting that perhaps everybody read it through, and if there are things in there that we haven't talked about or things that are kind of new and ideas that we haven't really run across before, we should kind of bring those up kind of individually on the board for future meetings. Start tackling individual bits here and there.
Yeah, I know one of the biggest things is just normal development. If we're going to be doing any of these newer frameworks, there's a lot of jiggery with writing either TypeScript or writing complex JavaScript to make these annotations and stuff work. How do we get that into our workflow? Do we even want to get into our workflow? I mean, and if we say, whether or not we don't want that as part of our workflow, well then, or what are we really going to go to Angular 2, right? So at the beginning, I was just really curious if we even want to go to Angular 2. I'm assuming we do, because we all know Angular. That's what we built it. But there's a different development workflow for sure.
I think there's also a big question of return on investment right now.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I want to go there. I'm just saying things to look at, like, do we want to go there? Do we need to somehow bring us all up to speed again?
Right. So I think everybody wants to get there, certainly. We just got to figure out how we can do it kind of not all at once. And I think that's kind of what we were just talking about, chiseling off little bits here and there that seem really doable, low-hanging fruit kind of stuff. And as we get closer, we still have to get to 1.5, for example. We're not even using components yet, and there's probably many opportunities where things can be switched over to be components rather than directives.
Has anybody prototyped anything with Angular 2 at this point? Just used it yet? use it? And where are they at? I know that they're doing release candidates right now. Is the API relatively stable?
They had their first stable release August 7th, or,
Okay, so they're not
or
changing the API
relatively
at this point?
recently. Well,
It's still,
Okay, yeah, okay.
but it's technically their first release, so it's kind of, we're on 1.4. The difference between 1.0 and 1.4 is relatively significant. I would imagine that now, the 2.0 versus 2.1 is going to be the same type of thing. There's going to be a lot of kind of changes and updates.
changes, yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of emphasis on using Redux in Angular 2. That's going to become standard, I believe. So.
I've heard mixed terms. A lot of people are like, well,
People keep going back and
everything's
forth.
singleton now, so it doesn't matter.
Is that how they say it?
Yeah. But shove everything in a singleton and you're good. And that whole observable thing that they do. Observables are pretty cool. So yeah, that was all. I just brought it up because I mean that was a good article. But again, I didn't know if we actually wanted to go there. I think Max our dev.
To me, I think one of the big, tricky part about it is TypeScript, because having read through the documentation for TypeScript versus JavaScript, they're treating JavaScript as a second-class citizen when it comes to documentation for Angular 2. A lot of the examples and APIs documented much better with TypeScript examples. So I don't know if TypeScript is something that we can start making a move to first. I don't know if there's much benefit from doing so. I don't know if we have to if it's all or nothing. I don't know if we can just do parts of the code base in TypeScript or not. But that might be one of the big kind of challenges if we do want to move to A2.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the things I was getting at. Is I don't know if you want to write vanilla JavaScript with the way documentation's a really good example that you bring it up. Do we even want to try to write whatever that compiles into, or transpiles to, whatever? I don't know. Maybe like you said, an example. Oh, yeah, you want to inject something? Just annotate it. Done. Right. But under the hood, it turns into this gigantic gobbledygook. Yeah, so it's all of that. As far as using TypeScript, it's pretty easy. It's built in, well, not for you, but it's pretty easy in terms of intelligent in WebStorm. It's built in.
Yeah. There's TypeScript in plugins.
So there's a TypeScript. Oh, then you're all set. So in terms of actually using it, it won't be a problem. The question is all around that. What are we checking in? What are we committing to?
Right. And to play devil's advocate a little bit here, I mean, realistically, an upgrade path of this magnitude, it comes to mind that it's probably, at the minimum a year, just given the scope of it and, from the product management side, the return on investment is negligible, probably. I mean, we all see the return on investment as kind of individual developer development. But from the product side and from the company's perspective, there's no pressing urge to go that direction. And so an argument could be made that by the time we're kind of looking at seriously making this leap, there may be, a lot may have changed, and we may be talking about native web components anyway, where the traditional JavaScript framework may no longer even be completely relevant. So
I don't see web components happening.
Well, I don't see upgrading to Angular 2 happening anytime soon for us either.
But I would
this is the
yeah, I would say an upgrade to Angular 2 would happen for web components to be standardized. Well, one of the things, I don't know, I know nobody's looked at it yet, but you talked about if you want to do it, you brought up a component. That's what he's talking about, things you can start doing now in your 1X code base.
Right.
And maybe those are things that we should, maybe look at doing, because those are going to be good for us anyway, not necessarily things that you have to do.
I found it interesting that, yeah, this paragraph right here about where you want to build, you know, the idea of you know, writing one app that can be pushed out to mobile, pushed out to web. I mean, that seems to be right now the strongest and most compelling argument for Angular 2. And in a lot of ways, that doesn't fit us at all until the business suddenly requires that. But it seems like we already have our mobile solution, and if we ever want to kind of join everything, I mean, I think we'd be talking about a full rewrite anyway. So at that point, reanalysis of this would be. But certainly, there's a lot of stuff in here in terms of what we can be doing now, and anything we can do now that can be, you know, as future-proof as possible is always welcome.
All right, yeah, so I'll just say, keep bringing up things here and there every meeting that we think we can do in small ways. Out there, even if it's best practice, like once you get into 1.5 in, you know, it's best practice.
I say it's also much more likely that we'll be using ES6 before we start talking about using Angular 2.
Get Babel in there.
So in terms of this I guess, comment, team discussions, or do we move this along? Do you want to keep it here? As some sort of like just reminder for people to go back and read this?
I would just keep it here, and every meeting, if anybody's done anything to it, we can review it.
Okay.
Just as you come across things, add it to that card, and people like a long running trail.
Okay. I mean, should I even move it into its own column, some sort of like Angular 2.0 upgrade comments?
It's just a team discussion. I mean, just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I think I'd keep it just on a team discussion list for now. If it turns out that it's taking up 85% of what we're talking about or whatever, then maybe it'll merit to have it in its own space. But
Okay. Sounds good.
Do we, I know that we had way back talked about kind of the upgrade path to the minor release to 1.5x.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost seems like that needs to be visited first.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to go from 1.4 to 2.0. Right? We're going to be on 1.5. But that's kind of a good gateway into, we're about to go through a release. So once we kind of sort out all the post-release stuff, let's be trying to get the 1.5 update into the backlog and estimated. And also, I think alongside that, everybody wants to be on Lodash 4. And that, I think, this is the time, right after the release, so beginning of PC 14. So we maximize the amount of debugging and lifecycle possible with the new code. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So if once we finish up PC 13 release and you're looking for stuff to do, you know, shout out to your product owner and basically say, hey, you know, we're ready for this update.
I think there used to be a card in here for power work, tech debts for upgrading Lodash, and
They already exist.
Yeah, I think we have them.
we have them.
I think they've been on the burner for a while. We just need to prioritize them and we need to get them in front of the product management team.
I
If
remember
they're there, that's fine.
we had that conversation back when AMS was here. I'm pretty sure we had those come out and just basically said we need to wait until the beginning of a release.
Yes. Yeah.
Development.
It's just the easiest time to do it because we can break all sorts of stuff and we've got a little bit of breathing room to sort. Yeah, so we probably just want to clone 17.391 and bump the version number there.
We actually have one here.
That's 1.1.5.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. All right, so I'll take care of doing this for us then.
Okay.
And what?
I don't know if we created one for Lodash or not. But.
All right, I'll take a gander. Okay, so we'll get those two in there. And is this something we want to start basically right after we make the cut?
Ideally, yeah. As soon as we have a master branch for PC14, that would be the time to jump on it.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's start planning. Okay, so we'll leave that one there. Refactor 1 validate input. Justin, you added this one.
Yeah, so pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if you guys care about it that much to write up a tech debt for it, but I mean it's pretty non-angular. It's kind of clunky to work with, not very extensible. Doesn't leverage any of the native Angular form stuff. I don't know if you guys felt that this is something that's it's not, we don't use it that much, or if we'd like to.
I mean, I found in general our validation to be a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
I'm never really sure how to approach validation in our application because we seem to still have a legacy validation widget, and then we have this component that kind of does its own thing in a very kind of closed box, not very extensible. And then, of course, Angular brings a whole bunch of stuff to the table. So it's like, at this point, I don't really know what our best practice is for validation. So I would plus this one big time.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking too. I was kind of thinking along the lines of if it's a spike, do we even need a validation anymore, or can we just apply things through classes of normal Angular validation, or do we need a component?
I mean, that sounds lovely. Native Angular validation. I'm just not sure how. So yeah, maybe the spike is the place to start here.
Okay. Oh yeah, just somebody needs to make a spike to do that. Find out if we need the current custom component, or if we can just use native Angular form stuff with like classes for styling, and then create whatever tech that we need to out of that.
Okay. Do you want to write up that spike, Justin?
Sure.
Yeah. You don't just have to do it, but just write it up.
Yeah, you put a thing on here to remind me, just like something like that. Or write spike.
For the spike, what is the type? Are you still using a TD, but you're just writing spike in that header, or is there a natural?
That's all I've been doing.
Just
I wish there was a spike type.
Yeah.
Maybe every other type.
Oh.
Prime bubble
Bring it up
type.
with the next retro.
Prime task type. Bug history. Bug type.
Okay, so we have stop. We're going to stop using Angular to method when Lodash provides it.
I think we already added this to the best practice. I think this is old.
Yeah.
Okay.
One note and one caveat in here: don't expose Lodash to your view in order to put Angular NoApp, or in order to replace Angular NoOp in your view. In your view, if you need a NoOp, use Angular NoOp. Don't force Lodash into the view templates.
Okay. Is this something we've already added to the? Is that a caveat to the best practice already?
I don't know. I'm just kind of putting it out there. I haven't seen it. I'm reading this, and I saw an Angular NoOp in a view template earlier today, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's the right use of Angular NoOp. I don't want to see that as Lodash NoOp, because the handoff of injecting Lodash into our templates just seems.
Why don't you write it this way, Colin? Confirm best practice. If not, write it up.
Yeah. And who wants to own that? I'm happy to take it if nobody else wants it. But.
Congratulations.
All right. I'm the proud owner of a news story.
And single gulp development. Single gulp dev.
So this is kind of a little bit of a pain point that we've experienced in working on this story for the one list, whereby I have to change something in the one list, so I have to do gulp dev in one, and then I have to change something in the actual module in THX, and so I have to do gulp dev in THX. And it's kind of annoying to have to switch back and forth between the two. The other issue is it may or may not be related at all, but we've been having issues whereby when you stop the One UI server and restart it, it pulls the old.
When you say server, you mean the actual server?
Yeah, the actual
Right.
Yeah, that's expected.
Yeah, that's expected because that's what's officially in the war based on the build. The dev, and then you can. So I guess one point to note here, if you're running gulp dev in THX and you need to make one minor tweak in One UI, leave your gulp dev up in THX and just run gulp build once in One UI to get the update to push out to the kind of staging area. Because then you'll be able to get your One UI update, but you can leave the dev going. So it can be kind of a one-off. If you do find that you're switching back and forth and you're going to be doing a few updates here and then you're going to a few updates there, I'm not entirely sure what the solution is.
I just run gulp dev.
Yeah, you can run them both at the same time. Only one of them though is going to trigger the browser sync.
Right. Yeah.
So if you are working in both, you can run them in both, and the updates will be there, but you may have to manually refresh them.
Well,
I thought it failed that if I do both devs, one of them fails because you can't get the socket.
It should change the socket for you.
it does it for me.
Okay,
I run them
let's
both
look at that
on
because that's abnormal. Because yeah, I've been able to run them both just fine.
It says the socket's an issue.
Yeah.
You guys may have a lingering process.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, even so, I think Browser Connect, when it discovers that there's the default port is in use, it just increments. So it's going to try to use, I can't remember what it is, 7199 or something like that by default. And next, the next time it tries, it'll be at 7101 and 7102. I mean, you can have like all sorts of browser sync processes, but what we have officially injected into the application is listening on just the one default port. I guess one other option here is we are manually providing the browser sync scriptlet into the index.html based on our cookie. We could potentially add 3 of them and have them each listen to the incremented port number. So you could have One UI, Analytics UI, and THX UI running at the same time, and all 3 of those would be hooked into one of those browser sync listeners. The only downside to that is when you only have one dev task going, you're going to have 2 errors in your console basically saying these scripts can't connect. And
that'll feed too, because it keeps trying. Or is it not try the first time?
Yeah, if it doesn't find it the first time, it stops.
Okay.
If you kill it,
that's when it keeps
it's trying to listen for a while, and yeah, that'll keep feeding. But so that may be one solution here. So we at least get the 4th browser sync. Otherwise, I'm not really sure the way to go about that aside from creating a like global dev task somewhere. That there's a lot of implication about like the global build at that point to listen to all the files across the different repositories, and that would get hairy pretty quickly. But let's take a look. I think the first step is if you guys are getting port conflict failures and one of your second gulp dev won't run, we should look at that first. And if that's an issue, let's fix that because that'll at least be half the battle. And then we can figure out maybe the argument is we only really need 2 at any given time. We wouldn't necessarily need all 3 running at the same time. So we could add another browser sync listener in there. and so you can have two going on, and you'll get the updates in real time.
That would be good.
And then just for your clarification, if you start and stop a server, that's a Maven process.
Mhm.
And so what Maven's doing is it's running a Maven plugin that goes and gets your reward from your local M2 repository,
Yeah.
or your local that.
Yeah.
But it's already a war. It's already been packaged. So the first time you do Maven clean install, that's when it's deploying. And then when you do gulp dev again, if you stop a server, kill your gulp dev, start your server, and then run gulp dev again, and it'll recopy everything back over.
Because it's the build process is essentially a hot load into the target.
Well, so the issue that I've been having is I have been doing builds of one UI. So I've been doing like MCIX when I change some files in one UI. And for some reason, there's an old cached version of a CSS file that just keeps coming back when I kill my servers and restart them. And it's been driving me nuts. It's been driving Jake nuts, and I have a hard time reproducing it. Reproduced it for a second this morning with you. But I didn't know if it was related to the build process. I don't know if it's related to something else.
If we have time, can you walk me through it right now?
I
No, just give me the gist of it. So what do you do?
Well, so that's the weird part. I don't know what's wrong because like I'll fix the thing. I'll fix it with gulp dev, right? Then I close gulp dev and then I'll do like a full build in CIX on one UI and THX, right?
That's your two wars.
So I have 2 new wars, right? And then everything will be fine. And I'll come back the next day and that old file will come back until I do a new build.
Is it a specific file that keeps showing up, or is it different?
It seems to be this one particular
What do
file.
you mean by come back the next day and the file shows up?
So the file is zerostate.css, right? Like it's a new CSS file that we've fixed several times. And when I come back and just start up the servers again the next day, then the old version of that file is shown, so like incorrect CSS.
Did you do a clean again?
Yeah. So that fixes it. But when I do a build again, but the fact that I have to keep doing that.
Well, no, that's again how Maven works. So when you do a clean install, you're taking a packaged war and shoving it in your local repository.
Right.
When you come back the next day, if you don't do a clean again, it's going to be your old war again.
Yeah, but that old war already has changed.
That should have already changed.
He's saying that it's reverting.
Oh,
It's reverting back.
So he's missing his CSS changes even if the war already active.
When you say they're showing in the browser as being outdated.
Yes. Yeah. The local copy that I have is correct, but what's in the
Are you
browser-
always spinning up the same server set? Like you're not just spinning up THX and one UI is just being pulled from the whatever.
No, I do start one UI definitely.
But even to this morning, I was under the impression that your rewards didn't contain the latest. What you were running into was that we had done the dev task. You had done the dev task and updated the files. We killed one UI and we brought one UI back up, and then your reward didn't contain it.
Right.
And
Well, at that point, it wouldn't.
Right.
Exactly.
Which is
And
the
then, so I wonder if really what's happening is that you're just running into cases where you have certain changes that are in your ward and certain changes that aren't. Meaning you hadn't built, you thought you did, but you didn't necessarily have, because that's what happened this morning.
I mean, maybe. I know that this is an old issue that I've built several times since having fixed it. So.
All right, I guess maybe write that up too. Because I've never seen that.
Yeah. No, it's very weird. Like I try to reproduce it consistently, and I haven't been able to. So I just.
Well, next time you get in the state, just get full one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because that would I would find it frustrating.
Jake was in yesterday morning, and I practically lost it.
He did. He was like, we fixed this like 5 fucking times. Why the fuck does it keep happening?
Okay. I feel like this is like a bad episode of like spin-off of Groundhog Day.
All right, so bringing it back to the card, and so you need to write a bug saying that you can't have 2 gulp dev tasks for some reason. And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Then I think the 2 gulp tests would be nice. That'd be good.
Yeah,
Which
that's what I do, because I run one for analytics and one for THX.
Yeah, just
One for
run them, and then if I know I'm
I've
doing
been doing
updates,
the build.
yeah. I mean, if it's like one little tweak that it's like, oh shit, I need to make this, 20 pixels padding rather than 15 on one UI, I'll do that there. I'll just run build and then refresh the page manually. But if I know that I'm kind of working in tandem in both repositories, just run gulp dev in both, and then when I recognize which one is connected, it's whichever one to run first is the one that's going to connect to the browser, and then the other one, just if I make changes on that side, just refresh.
I just kind of use them like servers. I just kind of start them when I start the day.
Yeah. So you always refresh your browser yourself.
Well, no, whichever one I'm actively working on, that's the one I start first. Get that one saved up,
Okay.
and then if I need to, I just
All right, well, that's it for the discussion card. Any of these show and tell? I know, John, this one's out. This hyper.
Yeah, so Hyperterm, I ran across a couple weeks ago. A lot of the JavaScript guys on Twitter have been raving about it. And essentially what it is it's a terminal built on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And so configuration is like a JSON file and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily provide anything better than iTerm or other terminals, except the potential of having the same terminal across systems, which we can't fully harness yet because the Linux version isn't out yet. They're working on it. But it's just kind of fascinating because it's one of those projects that kind of demonstrates the idea of, if it can be built with JavaScript, it's going to be. And this is kind of one of those things that like people use all the time, a terminal, and having it be really kind of web technology running this native application is beautiful in a lot of ways. And it's not a lot of code, which is crazy. If we look at the source code, it's pretty fascinating. It's got a whole plugin system.
which can be run from NPM.
Yeah, and it's all kind of they're baked in through NPM. I mean, it's taking the ecosystem and really kind of showing off what's possible with this kind of next gen JavaScript stuff. And it's been fun. I've been running it full time for the last 2 weeks, as I edit in Vim, and I've just been using Hyperterm. We don't have launchers scripted for it, and I'm curious to see if how easy it would be to write launchers for it, because I know using AppleScript for iTerm is not easy, I will say. So if it can be like your launchers are basically written in JavaScript, it's that would be kind of awesome. And then of course the cross-platform stuff is huge, because we have command scripts for Windows that we're using for launchers. We've got AppleScript for OS X. We've actually got 2 sets of AppleScript servers now, because we've got to support iTerm 3 and iTerm 2. So if it could all be normalized to one set of launcher code, that would be really neat. But anyway, check it out if you like terminal stuff, and if you don't, then fuck you.
Are you using the Hyperterm plugin here? All right. So, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's kind of it then. Show and tell team discussions. Do you guys want to shoot through the follow-on work, or?
Maybe just a PSA reminder that there's still follow-on work out there.
Yep, I'm the culprit of not doing it.
Same.
Yeah.
Find that every other Wednesday morning I do 1 or 2 of them. It's like, oh shit, I got that meeting. I didn't do any today.
Yeah. So take a take a look at this over the next 2 weeks if your name's in there. If you could. Understanding that we're in the middle of a release, at the end of a release, I should say. So I've got all right. Anybody?
One other thing, yeah, before we go, I pinged it the other day in the One UI room. There's a new browser called Blisk that is fascinating because it's really it's L before I and
L before I before L.
L before I Blisk.
You guys are right.
Yeah, you got it. All right.
Oh, okay.
My eyes are terrible. Yeah, so it's kind of developed for developers. May not be practical for our setup necessarily, but I know we all do kind of web projects and this and that on our own. And it's neat because it has a lot of things kind of built in that previously you had to have a whole bunch of different things together. It actually has like browser sync baked in, so it just, when you load the website, it looks at all the files that are on that page and then just automatically like hooks up listeners to them, which is kind of awesome.
That is awesome.
So it's a fascinating little thing. I haven't really gotten a chance to play with it yet because I do most of my development on Linux, and once again, the Linux version is coming soon. Tired of seeing that, but
You would think they would come first.
one day, yeah, I know, Linux first, right? Come on. But it just looks really fascinating. So if anybody does regular development on different things, it's worth checking out. I'd be curious to see what people's take is on it.
You know what I need is
Use your browser.
Whoa, that is loud.
just a way to do tunneling into from a mobile device into a Vagrant box running on my machine. Because I found that the browser emulators or the device emulators and browsers are nowhere near close to what actual devices
The
are.
Chrome DevTools aren't enough for you?
No,
Do you
I
have an Apple?
have an iPhone. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's
Yeah, that's your
get an Android phone and
then I'll be fine.
Yeah, sure, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Android. That's why I still have my old Android phone, so I can do dev on those and play with those.
Yeah. But yeah, I ran into that issue a lot at my last job because we need like 50 different devices supported, and so if you try and emulate them in Chrome, and it's just like it's nothing like what the client's actual device looks like.
Right. I mean, it's kind of just spoofing a couple metrics, and that's about it. Yeah, actually running the real software. I can't remember what we used to use
Using
for
browser stack.
iOS. I mean, yeah, browser stack's pretty good for like screenshots and stuff, but it's also come for the price. I hate, but I can't remember. Winery was good for that type of thing.
I've used DNS Mask on my Mac at home before, but it's kind of finicky, and then I have to like configure my router to look up because I use a custom domain, so it's like gamereplays.dev, and they can't just tunnel in through an IP address.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like the rest of the site breaks because it doesn't. So I found like that's been my challenge is actually getting mobile testing on an actual device.
Are you generally running Apache for that? You could create a different, I mean, you could create a different like virtual host specifically for that routing.
Yeah,
But
that's not a bad idea actually.
What is your server behind the firewall?
No, this is just my local dev machine, so it's running in VirtualBox and bigger. It's hard getting access to that site, that local development site on a different machine.
Well, is there anything else for this meeting?
I think we're good.
Is that for me?
How's the Uber list going?
Uber.
I think I'm the only one not working on it.
I know, right? Yeah, you're pretty much by yourself because we got Colin and everybody here. So man. All right, we have a bunch
On
of
an island, my friend.
You seem happy that you are.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, how is it down there? Must be nice.
I don't even know where I would
I don't know what to tell you. Just come in and make a mess.
Yeah, it's like you guys are juggling this big, gigantic water balloon. Here!
My hands are made of meat.
We're gonna owe Sean and Jake a beer after that stuff.
Just a beer, that's how much you think your efforts are worth.
So I'm just quitting.
Solitary.
Then I don't know you were there.
Alright, cool. I gotta get back to doing
Thanks, guys.